Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel where we decode the psychology behind human behavior. Today we're tackling a sensitive but fascinating topic: female psychology when a woman is caught cheating. What are her typical first reactions? And why does she say what she says? Stick around, because this could change the way you understand these situations forever. Segment 1. The initial shock and defense mechanisms. So, let's paint the scenario. She's been caught cheating. Maybe it's through a text message, a slip of the tongue, or even being caught in the act. The immediate reactions often fall into a few predictable patterns. But why do these reactions happen? Let's break it down. 1. Denial. Typical response. What are you talking about? That never happened. Psychological insight. Denial is one of the brain's most primal defense mechanisms, kicking in when an individual's stability or image is under threat. For her, this immediate rejection of reality buys time. It's not about convincing you in the moment. It's about creating a mental buffer to process the gravity of the situation. Denial might stem from panic, fear of consequences, or an instinctive need to protect her sense of integrity, even if she knows she's guilty. 2. Deflecting blame. Typical response. If you had been more attentive, this wouldn't have happened. Psychological insight. This is classic blame. Shifting, a tactic rooted in projection. By deflecting the focus from her actions to yours, she attempts to avoid accountability. The underlying justification might come from real or perceived emotional or physical neglect. This response often seeks to elicit guilt, turning the tables and steering the conversation away from her transgression. It's an attempt to balance the emotional scales in her favor. 3. Minimizing the situation. Typical response. It was just one time. It didn't mean anything. Psychological insight. Minimization is a strategy to downplay the emotional weight of betrayal. By framing her actions as insignificant or isolated, she tries to reduce the intensity of your reaction. This defense mechanism serves as a way to control the narrative, making the infidelity seem less harmful and, in her eyes, less deserving of severe consequences. Each of these responses reflects an effort to protect oneself from the immediate emotional fallout. But for the one betrayed, recognizing these patterns is the first step toward understanding and addressing the deeper issues at play. Segment 2. Social conditioning and emotional drivers. Now, let's dive deeper into why these defensive responses are so common when someone is confronted with infidelity. The reasons often stem from two powerful influences: social conditioning and emotional needs. 1. Social conditioning. Society often places immense pressure on women to uphold an image of virtue, loyalty, and moral uprightness. These cultural expectations are deeply ingrained, shaping how women perceive themselves and how they believe others should view them. When a woman is caught in a situation that conflicts with these ideals, an instinctive need to protect her social image kicks in. This explains why denial is such a prevalent response. It's not just an attempt to avoid immediate consequences, but also a reflex to preserve her perceived integrity. Social conditioning reinforces the belief that a woman's worth is closely tied to her fidelity and trustworthiness, making her defensive reactions almost automatic. 2. Emotional drivers. Cheating isn't always about physical attraction or desire. For many women, it's rooted in emotional dissatisfaction or unmet needs within the relationship. A lack of emotional connection, feeling undervalued, or enduring neglect can create a void that drives someone to seek validation elsewhere. Let's consider Lisa as an example. She's been in a relationship where her partner has become distant and emotionally unavailable. Over time, This emotional gap left Lisa feeling unimportant and disconnected. When confronted about her affair, her first response was, "You were never there for me." While this doesn't excuse her actions, it provides insight into the emotional dynamics at play. Lisa's justification stems from her unmet emotional needs, highlighting how feelings of neglect can fuel decisions and rationalizations. These two factors, social conditioning and emotional drivers, work together to shape not only the act of infidelity, but also the responses when it comes to light. By understanding these influences, we can foster more meaningful conversations about the complexities of relationships and the underlying needs that drive human behavior. Segment 3. Understanding V's. Navigating a challenging situation in a relationship requires a delicate balance between understanding and enabling. It's easy to fall into the trap of excusing behaviors once you comprehend the reasoning behind them. But here's the tricky part. Understanding her psychology doesn't mean condoning her actions. However, it can help you navigate the situation with clarity and control. Tip 1. Stay calm. Reacting impulsively or with anger often escalates conflict and creates a barrier to constructive dialogue. Instead, take a moment to pause and process your emotions before engaging. Calmness allows you to approach the conversation from a place of strength and rationality, increasing the chances of a meaningful resolution. For example, if you feel overwhelmed, say, "I need some time to think about this," and revisit the discussion when you're grounded. Tip 2. Focus on accountability. It's crucial to address actions without enabling deflection or minimization. Redirect the conversation to her behavior in a gentle but firm manner. For instance, if she attempts to shift the blame, you can say, "I understand you felt neglected, but let's focus on the decision you made and its impact." This approach keeps the discussion productive and prevents emotional sidetracking while demonstrating that empathy and accountability can coexist. Tip 3. Know your boundaries. Understanding doesn't obligate you to forgive or stay in the relationship. Be clear about your deal breakers beforehand. This self-awareness helps you stay firm if lines are crossed, ensuring that you protect your emotional well-being. For example, you might decide that while you're open to discussing and addressing the issue, repeated patterns of certain behaviors are non-negotiable for you. Segment 4. Key takeaways. Let's recap the key points to remember when faced with the difficult situation of someone cheating. Typically, her initial reactions might include denial, blame, shifting, or minimizing the issue. These responses aren't just random. They often stem from psychological defense mechanisms, and in some cases, social conditioning that encourages avoidance of guilt or accountability. The real power, however, lies in how you choose to respond. Staying calm is your first and most important tool. Reacting impulsively or with anger might feel justified, but can lead to unproductive arguments and missed opportunities for clarity. A calm demeanor keeps you in control of the narrative. Next, focus on accountability. Redirect the conversation back to the core issue without being harsh. For instance, if she tries to justify her actions, acknowledge her feelings but firmly bring the discussion back to her choices and their consequences. Finally, knowing your boundaries is essential. Understanding her reasoning doesn't mean you're obligated to forgive or continue the relationship. Decide in advance what your limits are and don't compromise on what truly matters to you. Closing scene. If this video gave you insights into understanding human behavior, don't forget to like, subscribe, and share it with someone who might find it helpful. And remember, clarity in these tough situations is the first step toward empowerment. See you in the next video.